I shall remind you that everything you think that you may know in love in our reality is nothing but false hope, empty promises, and pure lies. Nothing we do truly ever happened, and nothing we've experienced truly never did. We are in a simulation. Everything is fake. We are all empty on the inside. There is no hope. The Mandela Effect Iceberg Part 2! Let's go! Cut Valis.
I guess a lot of people enjoyed the last video, so here I am.
I did.
A part 2 as requested. Once again, we will be using
I enjoyed
terminology like residue and timeline, just because those are common words used in the Mandela Effect.
Residue. I don't like that word. Residue. Right? Things leave residues. Ugh, think about when something leaves a residue. Ugh. Nobody likes a residue.
To explain what's going on. It's not my personal attribution. A lot of people thought that it was in my last video, and I just wanted to clarify that. With everything out of the way, let's get into the deeper parts of this iceberg and see what's changed or misremembered. Also, if you enjoy my content, be sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like, as it helps support my work tremendously. I truly do appreciate all those who got me to 45,000 subscribers. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, man. Below the abyss. Oh, we're still going down. We're still going down. Uncle Sam. What do you mean, Uncle Sam? Has taxes been a lie this entire time? Has tax evasion just been a hoax?
Uncle Sam. Most Americans know this character, either from school or pop culture references. He was used by the US Army to attract young men and overall to promote American patriotism. Now, these pictures that I've been showing have been altered, as he doesn't have red stripes on his hat in the original, though many people swear that he has always had red stripes on his hat. And some even remember learning in school that his hat was
That doesn't even make sense! This doesn't even feel American. If it doesn't have red stripes, it's not American. That's just how America works. That's just how things work.
Had red stripes on his hat. And some even remember learning in school that his hat was so important because the stars and stripes symbolized the American flag, making Uncle Sam a metaphor for the United States. How do you guys remember Uncle Sam?
That is a perfect representation of taxes right there.
Metaphor for the United States.
Right here. This is the perfect...
How do you guys remember Uncle Sam? Barbie Girl song lyrics. Many people remember the most popular line in the song being, "I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world." Though this isn't the case. The real lyrics are, "I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world." This one seems like a simple mix-up though, as they both sound extremely similar if sung fast enough.
It's the same thing. Who cares?
Now
who cares? If you're singing it loud enough and fast enough in tune, right? If you have rhythm, if you're on beat, you sing it fast enough. If you say the, nobody's gonna know. If you say nobody's gonna know. Who cares?
You start going crazy.
Song bangs either way.
Yes, Cobain Noodles does in fact exist, or did, should I say, but it was simply rebranded to Cup Noodles in 1993. And it has been like that ever since, though a large group of people remember it being named the Cobain Noodles up until present day and don't ever remember a name change. Even a few Gen Z kids remember it this way, and they weren't even born in
I know it's Cup Noodles, but it just sounds... I feel like I know it's Cup Noodles, but Cup of Noodles sounds better. Like, who messed up there? Whose choice was that? Like, Cup of Noodles rolls off the tongue way better than Cup Noodles. Cup of Noodles. Cup Noodles. You know what I mean?
Who's the old logo?
Somebody needs to be fired for that.
How do you remember it? Cobain Noodles or Cup Noodles?
Exonerated.
And were you born before or after the name change in 1993? Moses had horns.
What's that word? Where you get, like, banished from the land?
Moses, a major figure in the Old Testament and for all Abrahamic religions, known for leading the Jews out of slavery in Egypt, parting the Red Sea, receiving the Ten Commandments, and apparently for having horns. Yep, you heard me right. Supposedly, the horns on the head of Moses apparently result from a translation of the Exodus book, which says that as he descended from Mount Sinai, he had two rays sticking out of his forehead, which some interpreted as horns and others as rays of light. You can see horns on many old statues and paintings that depict Moses because of this, notably the Moses statue by Michelangelo, which many swear didn't have horns.
And it was by Michelangelo. Michelangelo knows. Have you seen the art Michelangelo has done? I'm convinced Michelangelo has met those people. There's no way you can get that level of detail without actually being in the same room as that person. How did you know that vein was placed there? Because you shook that man's hand.
Before. The song that never ends. Some of us most likely remember this song from elementary school. We were either the ones singing it or had classmates that would annoy us. The song that never ends. Some of us most likely remember this song from elementary school.
No.
We were either the ones singing it or had classmates that would annoy us all day with the song. What's the Mandela effect about this one though? Well, some people recall the famous line in the song differently, believing that it was the song that never ends, but it's actually the song that doesn't end, throwing off the rhythm of the tune for some listeners who recall differently.
The song that doesn't end.
There's also a few decade-old videos with the title being The Song That Never Ends, which completely—
Look at these suggested videos. Look at the duck song. Henry Thomas audition for E.T.
contradicts the lyrics, which is rather intriguing to say the least. Pepto-Bismol. I guess some people remember Pepto-Bismol having an L at the end of the word Pepto, making it Pepto-Bismol, though I remember—
What dumbass thought that? What fucking idiot thought that? I've never heard anybody say Peptol. Pepto-Bismol. I've never heard that. It's always been Pepto. I've never, Peptol. I've never heard that. Never heard that in my life. Peptol. Never.
The current version, and I personally don't recall it having an extra L.
That's
How
what I'm
about
saying.
you guys?
What do you mean?
Mike and Ike. Do you remember there being a letter N in the middle of these two names? Well, that memory is most likely fabricated, as it has always had the word and in the middle, making it Mike and Ike, not Mike and Ike. Either way, it makes more sense with the and, but I do vaguely remember the N. J.C. Penney.
Probably was.
Some people remember J.C.
Probably some like premium exclusive box.
Vaguely remember the
Right?
N.
Remember when they did that thing where it was like Mike and Ike split up, and then you get a box and it's either that one's Mike's, and then you get another box and that one's Ike's, right? Like the left Twix and the right Twix. And what's the deal with all of this Snickers vein BS that I'm seeing all over the internet, dude? Why are people posting pictures of Snicker veins? What is all of this hullabaloo?
Vaguely remember the N. J.C. Penney. Some people remember J.C. Penney being spelled J.C. Penney without an extra E, but it's confirmed that J.C. Penney was always spelled with an extra E. Some people think that calling it a Mandela effect is a stretch, but how do you recall it being spelled? To me, a single E looks more aesthetically pleasing, but the extra E might be in reference to a name or something. Jaws' famous line. This one is referencing the "We're gonna need a bigger boat" line from the classic film Jaws. When reenacting the line, most people remember it stating, "We're gonna need a bigger boat," but in the film, it actually says, "You're going to need a bigger boat," which has some people puzzled as they distinctively remember "where," not "your." Kit Kat
all I remember is slaughter and death
logo
and agony and pain.
How do you recall the Kit Kat logo?
Kind of like my life.
Looking like? Does it have a dash in the center? Well, if you remember
it's a dot, yeah.
It that way, you'd be surprised to know that you're wrong. It has never had a dash.
That's gotta be cap. That's gotta be cap. That has gotta be cap. Big chocolate wafers. They should have kept that name. They should have kept big chocolate wafers. That would go crazy in 2022. Imagine the big chocolate wafer memes. Big Choco.
In the middle, which
Then
has
they start posting, dude, Big Choco, and they start posting that big old Snicker bars.
left many people astounded. I personally recall a dash in the middle, but I have to admit, I may have only glanced over the logo a few times without paying it too much attention. Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. How do you guys remember Shaggy from the original Scooby-Doo series?
A stoner?
Does he have a noticeable Adam's apple? If you remember him having one, you're misremembering, because he's not seen with an Adam's apple in the entirety of the show, although people swear it's one of his most prominent character features. Target logo. Which one of these do you think is the official Target?
The left! The left!
Target logo. Well, some may be surprised when I tell you that it's the one on the far left. Many individuals seem to remember the Target logo having more than one circle, when truly it's only got a single circle surrounding a dot. Some may say, well, it's simply updated to fit the current logo aesthetic trend, but that's wrong.
I've spent a lot of time at Target.
Because the logo has been like that.
I've stolen a lot of things from Target
Since 1968 and hasn't changed since. Albert Einstein insanity quote. There's a very famous quote that's almost always attributed to Albert Einstein, stating, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again.
Watch, he never said that. He never, it was just some guy. It's just some guy. He runs a coffee shop in Detroit.
And expecting different results. Well, Albert Einstein never said this. The original can be traced back to Rita Mae Brown, the mystery
it's just some guy
novelist, in her 1983 book Sudden Death, where a fictional character says the line. I gotta admit, this one kinda tore me up, as I've always remembered that quote coming from Einstein, applying it to my life.
Who said that? Somebody had to just said that. Somebody was just like, you know what? Somebody remembers that quote. Like, they've read that book. They've read that book, and they love that quote. They're like, oh, this quote's amazing. And then they remember the quote, but they don't remember who said it. And so they're like, fuck, who said that quote? Fuck it, dude. Albert Einstein. And they just posted it on Tumblr. And it blew up.
Though so far it turned out to be good advice, so I'm not too mad at myself for not investigating where it came from. Let's move on to the trenches.
The trenches. That's where I'm from.
The Grinch. Now, this is one that I don't completely agree with. I've always remembered the book and film both being titled How the Grinch Stole Christmas, though some vividly remember it being called The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, not How the Grinch Stole Christmas. But how do you recall the title?
Who the fuck said that? Who the hell said that?
Tony the Tiger's Nose. How do you recall Tony the Tiger's Nose? Is it blue or black? Well, it's actually
black.
Blue, which has some people
That's dumb.
confused as they recall the character having a regular black
That is dumb.
nose, finding the current tiger off-putting. To be honest, I can see why people may have
That is biologically incorrect.
misremembered it being black, as they're both dark colors. Or black isn't a color, so... Disney's The Sword in the Stone. Disney's The Sword in the Stone is a classic that most people have watched, or at least have seen the cover art.
Never.
According to some, this film has changed. The sword in the animated movie was unable to be removed from a large stone, right? It was just stuck there. Well, no, it was actually stuck in an anvil on top of a stone-like structure. Do you guys remember the anvil, or a large, rough-looking rock? I recall the latter.
So it wasn't in a stone. Was it called the sword and the stone, or the sword in the stone?
Let me know in the
What is the significance of the stone?
comments though. Objects in the mirror. So you know the objects in the mirror safety warning engraved on the passenger side mirrors of vehicles? How do you remember the warning?
Objects in mirror may be closer than they appear.
Was it objects in a mirror may be
Yeah!
closer than they appear? Well, a lot of people recall
Yeah, I don't drive.
it this way, but it's not correct. It's actually objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. Maybe is never applied in the sentence. Me, Tarzan,
I don't, dude.
you, Jane. This entry is in reference to a supposed line in Disney's Tarzan. Many people recall a line where Tarzan says, Me Tarzan, you Jane. But this line simply doesn't exist in the film, though a variation.
Dude, this movie attests to how trash men are. Men truly are trash. This girl, this rich girl, part of human civilization, instead of remaining part of human civilization, she decided to fall in love with Gorilla Man, raised by the wild, king of the jungle, instead of like Gerard.
Of it does, which may have led to this confusion, where Jane points to Tarzan and says his name, and then points to herself.
He ain't never had a penicillin shot in his life, dude. He's got every type of hepatitis, bro. He's got crabs. It's over, dude.
Her own name. This would overall make more sense, as Tarzan most likely wouldn't know the words you and me anyways. The Thinker. The Thinker is a bronze sculpture by Gust Rodin, usually placed on a stone pedestal. The work depicts a nude male figure of heroic size sitting on a rock. He is seen leaning over, his right elbow placed under his left thigh, holding the weight of his chin on the back of his right hand. The pose is one of deep thought and contemplation, and the statue is often used as an image to represent philosophy. Though this isn't how everyone remembers the statue's pose, some recall him placing his hand on or near his forehead and not on his chin.
I don't remember that.
Residue in the form of an IBM commercial depicts the Thinker with his hand on his head, how Mandela effect followers remember.
I don't.
There are also entire group pictures of people doing the wrong pose of the Thinker in front of the statue itself, which is intriguing.
They T-bowing. That's not the Thinker. They're T-bowing. What do you mean? That was when those internet trends was popping, right? When people was like planking. Right? Remember when people like planking on bridges and shit? Right? And people's T-bowing. That's what this is. That's it. It's just they stand the T-bow.
To say the least. They also don't recall him sporting a hat, which he's always had, though I can see how it's mistaken for hair from a far distance. The Jungle Book dance scene. In the scene where Baloo starts to dance in a skirt, do you guys recall him wearing a coconut bra? Well, tons of people do, and are stunned when they rewatch the film and find that he's only wearing a skirt, with no coconut bra in sight. Though in the live action performances in Disneyland Paris, he's seen wearing a coconut bra, exactly how a lot of people remember. This entry really
They're doing it on purpose. They're trying to fuck with people's brains.
Out to me, as I strongly remember him wearing a coconut bra, and it's crazy to think that even Disneyland misremembered him as well. Is this proof of the Mandela effect, or simply
somebody's getting fired? Somebody's getting fired.
Around the World in 80 Days. Around the World in 80 Days is a classic piece of literature, so much so that it's got its own film adaptation. The Mandela effect is on the transportation that they used to go around the world. Was it a hot air balloon or trains and ships? If you thought it was a hot air balloon, you might be experiencing a Mandela effect because it wasn't used at all. Phileas Fogg does not travel in a hot air balloon in the Around the World in 80 Days book. Yes, there's a mention of such travel in chapter 32, but the idea is quickly dropped.
Chapter 32? Oh yeah, I have absolutely no idea what that is.
Trains.
You think I'm reading 32 chapters?
Elephants, sailboats, steamboats, and sledges, but never a hot air balloon. This is kind of crazy because mostly all the book covers depict a hot air balloon.
I don't know what that is.
Missing Scooby-Doo character. I couldn't find much about this entry until I came across this Reddit post by Jack B1411, reading, "Okay, so people are saying I'm crazy, but others remember what I'm saying. I saw some other Instagram meme of a Reddit screenshot where a guy was saying that how when he looked at the gang from Scooby-Doo, that he logically knew that there were only 5 members, Shaggy, Scooby, Velma, Daphne, and Fred, but he feels like something is missing. I remember a 6th character. I don't remember his name, but it was another male character. He wore a blue shirt with dark gray pants, and he had more of a circular face than Fred, but more chiseled than Shaggy. I also remember an orange collar / scarf.
Wasn't that just Fred? Wasn't that just Fred as some new drip? Wasn't that just Fred as some new drip? Remember that Scooby-Doo movie? Right, with the electric guy? And they're traveling through cyberspace? Remember? And they like ran in to their old selves in their old drip? Remember? Right, Shaggy had like a different color shirt.
But I could just be getting confused with Fred. Do you guys remember a sixth character in the gang? If so, leave details in the comments.
I'm pretty sure that was just Fred.
Let's move on to the ocean floor.
Frog in boiling water. Hitler had brown eyes.
Frog in boiling water. So most of us know the fact that if you place a frog in cold water and then slowly start increasing to boiling temperature, it won't try to escape because it wouldn't recognize the difference in temperature, right? Well, this is untrue, as experiments have shown that they begin to feel uncomfortable and try to escape as the temperature nears boiling point, though tons of people claim to have been taught this in school as being fact instead of a metaphor for complacency. How do you remember it being taught to you?
Well, I mean, this is America, so.
Dazed and confused.
This is the American education system.
In the film,
It hasn't it's let us down in many ways, so I wouldn't be
confused. There's a scene in which one of the characters is spinning
I've
a
never
globe,
watched this movie.
which is said to depict an unexplained landmass to the west of Australia. After people started to point this out, others began to recall learning about this missing landmass, believing that they shifted realities at some point, as there are no large landmasses directly to the west of Australia on any current maps or globes. Some even came to the conclusion that it may have been the cause for the disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. Hitler
What if that's Atlantis? What if that's Atlantis?
had brown eyes. Many people distinctively remember Hitler having brown eyes, in contradiction
Did we check
to
there? Has anybody checked that area? Or is that the Bermuda Triangle?
what he
Where everybody's going
idolized,
missing.
which was blue eyes. But this is completely wrong. He's always had blue eyes, and it was a notable feature about him, according to history books. Though people who were affected by this Mandela effect specifically remember being taught about this contradiction in school, and how much of a big deal it was because he didn't fit his own ideal image of what a human should be. Do you remember Hitler having brown eyes? North Pole landmass. The North Pole is on the point of the northern hemisphere, where the Earth's axis of rotation meets its surface. Some recall there being a large landmass full of ice located there, but this is simply not the case. A quick search on Google disproves this. See? No landmass. Even checking Google Earth,
That
we
doesn't
see
even
nothing
make
there,
sense!
though this may be confused with the ice in the North Pole. See, the North Pole sits in the middle of the Arctic Ocean, on water that is almost always covered in ice. The ice is about 2.3 meters or 6.10 feet thick, which may be confused as landmass to some. But what is your explanation on this?
That doesn't even make
effect?
sense! That doesn't even make sense! Because if there's no land, you're telling me Santa's workshop is just floating on floaties? You telling me it's just casually just cruising along? That is cap. That is cap.
Tank Man didn't die. Tiananmen Square. The Tank Man is an unidentified protester who appears in a famous video in which he stands in front of 3 tanks and tries to block their passage during the 1989 Tiananmen Square protests against the Chinese Communist government. Contrary to what many believe, he was never run over or killed. Kurt Cobain's
That's a badass! That is a badass! There's a row of tanks, and he stared at them, dead in their faces. That is some Captain America shit. That is hardcore.
To what many believe, he was never run over
fuck with that
or
guy.
killed. Kurt Cobain's fuzzy pink jacket. A certain amount of fans remember Kurt Cobain wearing a fuzzy
Wasn't that Cameron?
pink jacket alongside his white shades. These are recreations / photoshopped pictures of what people remember, but looking at old photos of the artist, you won't find any of him wearing this infamous jacket that so many remember. Instead, you'll find him wearing a cheetah print jacket, and the closest thing you'll find is this bright pink coat and dress shirt that he wore once, though people say that these greatly differ from their memory. Do you recall him wearing a fuzzy pink jacket?
That was Cameron.
The peace symbol. Do you remember the peace symbol feet up or feet down?
Feet up doesn't look right. Wait. Wait! 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 I'm confused!
Well, a large group of people remember it feet up, although it wouldn't make much sense. The modern peace sign was designed by Gerald Holtom for the British campaign for nuclear disarmament in 1958. The vertical lines in the center represent the flag semaphore signal for the letter D, and the downward lines on either sides represent the semaphore signal for the letter N. N and D, standing for nuclear disarmament. But how do you recall the symbol? Eli Whitney was black. Eli Whitney Jr.
What? So was Jesus.
How do you recall the symbol? Eli Whitney was black. Eli Whitney Jr. was an American inventor, widely known for inventing the cotton gin, one of the key inventions of the Industrial Revolution that shaped the economy of the antebellum South. Many people remember him being a black man, and finding it ironic that his invention was used to further perpetuate slavery. There are even old newspapers stating that he was a prominent black inventor, even though history says otherwise. Eli Whitney was actually a white man who studied at Yale and would later go on to invent the cotton gin. So I'm guessing someone at this school didn't.
I believe that. I believe that. A white dude inventing a machine to harvest more.
They're facts.
Obviously.
The September 22nd and 23rd CERN event anomalies. The name CERN is derived from the acronym for the European Council for Nuclear Research, in French, a provisional body founded in 1952 with the mandate of establishing a world-class fundamental physics research organization in Europe. They are responsible for creating the Large Hadron Collider. According to Redditor's Silent Chatter, on September 22, 2011, a scientist supposedly broke the speed of light, but this was later proved to be false due to the tools measuring the speed wrong. However, many claim that events and details of the 22nd and 23rd are switched or altered from their memory, and the scientist could be to blame. Some claim that this further perpetuated timeline shifts, causing more notable
So now we're shifting timelines! We're breaking the speed of light and shifting timelines. This is not a Mandela effect to me, this is news!
Effects.
This is great news!
2012 was the last year on Earth. I know this one might sound ridiculous, but you know, gotta explain every entry. People believe the world really ended in 2012 in our original set reality. We are now living in an alternate reality. And YouTube has been
Is that why my back hurts all the time?
accused of removing a bunch of videos related to the world ending in 2012 and the CERN having something to do with it. And it could just be that they're trying to stop misinformation, or it could be that they're attempting to cover something up. People believe, using available data, knowledge, and machines, that CERN scientists have found a way to transfer each individual consciousness into an alternate reality that is most likely similar to our old base reality, but a little different, thus explaining all these Mandela effects. What do you think of this theory?
What? I thought the flat earthers were nutballs, dude! Are you kidding me? We have shifted the timeline, broken the speed of light, and we have now harnessed the power to transfer consciousnesses into other beings in a parallel universe, dude. What the hell is going on?